Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's largest platform for entrepreneurs. Any questions you have about any aspects of your business, we've got it covered here on the show. Tonight and all of this week, we're going to put the spotlight on you, the small business who's responded to the crisis, responded to the opportunities, if we can call it that, presented by this pandemic and shown true grit by innovating. Many such companies that we're going to be focusing on all of this week. Let me dive right in and introduce the two entrepreneurs who are on the LOT hot seat tonight. First up is Seeds. I'm also in conversation with Medikabazaar. Manu Gupta of the company is joining us here on the show tonight. Manu, thanks for taking the time, to really talk to us in depth about what the business is and what the model is. And first up, maybe we could start there. Tell us really in detail what the business model is.
Seeds is a non-profit organization, and it works very much like any other charity, which means basically it collects funds from individuals, general public, corporate under their CSR, and generates that income which it deploys for humanitarian needs in the communities which it is serving. So essentially, it's a very simple model, Sunanda. It uses public money, and we have a team of experts. We have a very influential board that really looks into how the funds best can be used in any given emergency or a humanitarian setting. And we are able to then deploy funds most efficiently in such settings.
We've seen a lot of companies responding to what has been happening around us in terms of the crisis, etc. But is this a CSR initiative that you've decided to, launch, or is this a for-profit model? Just give us a sense of how the revenue of this works.
So Seeds, it had started as a NGO, and we had been looking at receiving research grants and other institutional grants to be able to carry out research work and some field work initially. But when we moved out into the field, we started looking at the needs of people. So from a role of just exploring and providing knowledge to people, we moved into how do we really meet those needs on the ground. And for that, obviously, we needed a lot of funding. So we went back to our board, to our friends, and our associates, and through them we have been able to generate donations, grants that come by way. So as on today, we have a very large circle of well-wishers and friends who provide their annual donations to us, which helps us carry out our work. And we also have contributions from corporates under their CSR to carry out more long-term work, which we feel is more important than looking at just climate-based emergencies. So essentially, the business model is that of any other charity that uses public funds for the benefit of people it serves. Now, of course, when we are able to generate that kind of funding, we are also conscious of the responsibility that comes with public money. And therefore, we apply globally held standards around accountability, around transparency of our funds and how they are utilized. We also look at the competency of our staff and how it is used in the field areas. And we keep a small portion, say 8 to 10% as overheads, but 90 to 92% goes directly to people for whom it is meant. So that's essentially, the model that we have been following.
So you have a four-pronged strategy from what I understand in the business. Just run our viewers through what that is.
What we are looking at is a model that goes beyond relief. So conventionally, any disaster happens, there is an outpouring of sympathy and very justified. And we have public coming together, citizens coming together to help those who are in distress. And yes, that's a need that has to be met. And of course, society is designed that way, that we help people who are in distress, um, and sometimes we are in distress and we expect that kind of immediate assistance. But what we've been really trying to do in our strategy is to challenge this relief model, because one, it had taken away the agency of people. People had no choice. They had to contend with what they were given. Also, it kind of perpetuated this dependency syndrome, and we felt that that is not taking us anywhere. So the same communities get impacted every year, and more relief comes in, and then this cycle kind of continues endlessly. So what we've tried to do is look at how do we shift that narrative from just survivability to more resilience building, more preparedness building. So our strategy currently is going beyond relief, and we are trying to go back to our donors, going back to our stakeholders and to communities and say, look here, relief is okay, but these disasters have become almost like a repeated phenomena. Don't you think we need to invest more in resilience building, in strengthening communities' own capacity, so that next time there is much less need for relief and communities are able to minimize their losses in such kind of emergencies?
The reason we were talking about your business model earlier is because you work with the bottom 1% really of the population. If as they're called, a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses shy away from that because they say there's no money to be really made at the bottom of the pyramid. Why then was this a market that you decided to choose?
I believe that there is tremendous energy out there that can be harnessed, and while the bottom 1% are always thought to be as people who are dependent on the rest of the pyramid, so to say, but actually, we haven't really explored that deep enough. And this I can speak from experience of working with communities across the country over the last 2 decades. We have been able to harness that energy, maybe not in terms of the usual revenue models that we are looking at, but in terms of their contribution in reconstruction work, where they can provide their labor, their inputs in terms of what material could be more suitable for them rather than expensive industrial prefabricated material brought from outside at high cost, at high transportation, and then being very unsustainable to local contexts and environments. So I think when we restore that agency of people, we are able to extract a lot out of that so-called bottom 1%. I think we have to think of inverting that triangle, and actually you will be surprised that there is so much that this so-called bottom 1% can contribute to their own resilience, to their own sustainability in the long run.
So how are you working with the youth and young people when it comes to the targeted areas that you have, and how are you perhaps looking at changing things around, or how are you really approaching that, and how are you changing their mindset perhaps?
I think the youth, more than anything, have to be involved center stage to be leading this kind of action. And we are seeing this youth movement coming up around the world. So coming to what we are doing, what we are trying to do is create a national cadre of community volunteers, primarily from the younger generation, from the adolescent to below 30, uh, empowering them with digital tools, handheld devices, and getting them to reach out to communities who are in distress, but also then be the uh, curators, enablers of the correct information and solutions that can build resilience in their own communities.
We were talking previously, Manu, about businesses that say, hey, I would love to work with this section of the population. This is an area perhaps that I would look at wanting to work in, but I'm not sure how to go about it. I'm not sure if there's money to be made. I'm not sure where to start. What's your advice for them?
I think there is almost an infinite potential of young entrepreneurs, fresh entrepreneurs to work. One is in the innovation space. I think it's not business as usual now. We are looking at climate change. We are looking at pandemic as these big events that are going to really challenge the existing normal. Now, in that kind of a given scenario, we are looking for solutions that are out of the box, that have a unique revenue model, and yet they are workable at population scale. So if we look at building a business case with factors such as technology, as population scale, as innovation, and a problem that is now beginning to go out of control, then I think we have a very fertile ground to act. And I do feel that revenue and profitability in as maybe defined in usual business sense should not be a problem. I think there is we've seen in our own experiments that there is a tremendous spirit of enterprise even in the bottom of the pyramid of our population, that bottom 1% that we spoke about. And I think we just need to create the right platforms, the right means and enabling environments to be able to tap into that.
Manu, thanks so much for your time here on the show. Let's slip into a short break. When we come back, Medikabazaar, what is this business doing when it comes to innovation around and during the time of this crisis? That's on the other side. To stay tuned. Welcome back with us here in Leaders of Tomorrow. All of this week, we're continuing to focus on India's most innovative small businesses. What are they doing when it comes to responding really to the pandemic, and how are they innovating? All of that, all of this week. In the hot seat tonight is Medikabazaar. Vivek Tiwari of Medikabazaar joining us on the show. Vivek, good having you joining us back on the show. It's been a while since we've chatted with you on Leaders of Tomorrow. Just to refresh the memory of our viewers, if you can talk to us about the business, your journey with Medikabazaar, where that really came about.
I started Medikabazaar in 2015, and this was essentially an idea which I had personally experienced in my previous avatar when I was actually working on opening up dialysis clinics throughout the country. I set up about 43 dialysis clinics, and this was primarily into smaller cities and tier 2, 3 cities in India. During my visit to rural healthcare centers or places which are not into mostly urban-centric locations, I realized there was a huge pain point looking at various challenges in healthcare delivery. There were pain points related to availability of skilled manpower, doctors, nurses, and moreover there was big operational efficiency problem The reason being supply chain inefficiency, pricing inefficiency, delivery model inefficiency. So all of this was actually leading me to the fact that why in our India we don't have a connected platform wherein at least in a marketplace or an aggregated model we have availability of the entire range of medical supplies which are needed for doctors, for hospital to treat patients, readily available for them. And this was the idea which was taken up to create Medikabazaar platform. 2012-13 were times when e-commerce was picking up and many new B2B emerging entities were coming up during that time. Horizontal B2B was being talked about in US and India. So Medikabazaar essentially is more into vertical B2B space. We have a deep domain expertise into delivery of healthcare supplies throughout the country. Presently, we work with about 100,000 registered medical centers, doctors, nursing homes, clinics, larger hospitals, smaller hospitals across different cities, different geographical locations. We serve tier 2, 3 cities primarily with our ability to kind of build robust supply chain efficiency. And this is how Medikabazaar has evolved from just being a small e-commerce platform to a very large solution-centric platform, which we are offering to hospitals today.
What is Project Breathe, Vivek? What can you tell our viewers?
So Project Breathe was essentially conceptualized with the problem of oxygen-related equipment in our country today. So early on in April, beginning of April, we could sense that there was something big coming out in terms of oxygen products requirement or oxygen-related equipment requirement in the country. There were many hospitals suddenly asking us for supply of concentrators, cylinders, different kind of oxygen-related equipment. Even few people were asking for oxygen plants, which are very complicated, kind of setup in nature. And this was the idea to create a very strong, synergy between the requirement at that point in time and to create a project which was essentially meant to enable oxygen supplies throughout the country, whether it was in the form of a small, concentrator supply to any challenging areas, or whether it was in the form of cylinder supplies to them, or whether it was in the form of oxygen plant setup. So we were kind of trying to help in the best, possible given effort and scenarios which we could achieve on our side by aggregating things.
So give us a sense of, the healthcare space and how much it's really changed. One, before the pandemic, two, now, post the pandemic and the changes that we're seeing with the second wave, the third wave, etc. What are the biggest changes really that you, as someone who's so closely associated with the space, is seeing?
This is something which has seen a massive shift than what it was earlier. While post-COVID, there would be certain, physical visits starting up, and people would love to meet and go and meet doctors and would definitely be visiting hospitals to meet their consultants, their doctors. But there would be certainly a major, change or the shift happening in online consultations. So that's one area where it's a massive shift happened. Number two, in terms of procurement or medicine supplies, in terms of models which are existing either on a B2C model, which is like a customer medicine supply, or a B2B model like Medikabazaar, we have seen massive change in terms of our, the way people have started perceiving these platforms. There has been huge traffic we have also seen on our platform. Many people are, many core customer groups like hospitals, doctors, they are coming to our platform looking for various products. The call at our call centers have increased manyfold. People are just inquiring about various products. So obviously there is a huge shift which has happened into online way of procurement, whether it is from a patient perspective, whether it is from a caregiver perspective, whether it is from a hospital perspective. A lot of change has happened. What we have seen is also, from different emerging health tech areas, like, AI ML based health tech opportunities which are coming up, like disease pattern. A lot of disease pattern related, simulation tools have come forward. So these kind of related health tech opportunities are the way forward. These are the future, kind of ready healthcare opportunities which are coming up. And apart from it, there are other health tech platforms which are into fitness space, which are into different kind of wellness space. They are also seeing a massive change happening. So I think with this pandemic, overall health tech has gained a massive push from the people, and there is a momentum which is building up, and this will definitely be very good for the entire healthcare sector largely.
Could you talk to us then about what some of the things that are on your radar are looking like?
So we have seen a massive growth in the way we perceive this platform to be. For last 6 years, in fact, we are working on this idea to make it a great success, and we have seen a great opportunity in hand for us. While the economy is booming again, and there are starting next quarter, we strongly believe that there will be a lot to focus on medical infrastructure ramp up. For obvious reason, we have seen that there is a huge potential in terms of building medical infrastructure in the country today. The pandemic has, kind of opened up the challenges in medical infrastructure, whether it is availability of critical care beds in the country, or whether it is availability of medical equipment in the country. So from that angle, I think we have a great opportunity in hand to work, whether it is with private players, whether it is with the government. That's where we see a great option for a platform like Medikabazaar to offer its services to the entire country or to society. And apart from it, I think the plan essentially revolves around building three large areas within our company. One is we are working on building a strong technology enabling solutions. We recently got the patent for our procurement and inventory management tool Visi. The patent was granted just few days back. We are hopeful to kind of leverage on that strength of Visi to various hospitals, where we can make their procurement plan, make their entire system and working capital efficiency much better. Apart from it, from the business feasibility side, we have recently launched a model called Value Procurement Organization, which is a great model in itself. It is essentially catering to 100% supplies within hospital and trying to make it much more robust and much more procurement efficient, much more cost efficient, and trying to give them the best value for whatever spend they are doing in procurement. It's the second largest cost component in a medical center today. If we just take out the cost of all manpower related costs from the hospital, the second largest cost is the cost of input of material, where we are working with a VPO solution. I think that's where we are fully geared, and we have few VPO customers who are really happy with the kind of services we are giving to them. So our plan is to enable and maybe make about 1,000 VPO customers in coming 12 months. This could be mix of a large to a mid-size hospital to a small-size hospital. That will be a great opportunity in itself.
All right, Vivek, good having you here on the show. If you like any of the businesses that have been featured here on tonight's show, or going to be featured on the rest of the week, as someone who's identified a problem area and are innovating in that when it comes to this pandemic, do let us know. Our contact details are on your screens as we speak. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.